The Legend of Heroes Trails for Daybreak released in the West recently and is the 11th installment in the Trails series. But what is Trails? Beginning in 2004, The Legend of Heroes, or Trails as it's been coined in the West, is a huge interconnected RPG series spanning multiple countries across the world of Zamoria. The series has had a bit of a shaky start in the West, but has been getting much more attention with each release, and most games that haven't been localized from Japanese to English have been in recent years. The newest release, Trails for Daybreak, takes place in a new continent, Calvard, located in eastern Zamoria, and with it comes a whole new visual overhaul from previous games alongside a new protagonist and party members. In Trails for Daybreak, you play as Van Arkwright, leader of Arkwright Solutions, an organization that will take on any task for the right price. Be it law-abiding or not, anything goes as he deems necessary. During the prologue, you meet Elliot-Cloud, a student at Aramis High School, who during the prologue tasks you with finding these items known as the Genesis, which was made by her late great-grandfather. The Genesis himself have been causing many strange anomalies across Calvard, and this is your main mystery to unfold in Trails for Daybreak, exploring different locales across Calvard, and during each chapter the result will end with a new party member arc alongside a piece of the 8 Genesis. The starting party of just 2 felt refreshing, since Color Steel made you have an entire classroom of party members, with each installment having so many it felt a little overbearing. However, here you're starting from scratch again, which is typically what I prefer in a JRPG. Getting straight into the combat, and man does this get it right. If you're a newcomer, you may feel overwhelmed at first, but this game really does build off from previous installments. The tutorial in the series is typically really good at explaining the basics using in-game terminology. Battles are now seamless, allowing you to attack in an action RPG-like style as you dodge against the enemy. However, get some good hits in and you can initiate the classic turn-based system the series is known for, starting with a huge advantage. Having more than one way to approach combat felt refreshing, and I was surprised that other series haven't attempted this approach, unifying both an action RPG and a turn-based RPG. X-Crash, with what you used to build meter in previous games, think like a super move from a 2D fighter, have been somewhat nerfed. Before you could use them at any time, however now it requires a new resource known as a boost meter. This made encounters a lot more tactical, and personally I preferred it since all I ever did in previous games would go up to boss fights with full S-Craft meter and it would typically be enough to wipe the floor with them. The new UI and animations look great and really gave this game that next gen anime look. I love how this game feels like a step up in terms of scope. Indoor areas are now seamless with no loading zones, and it helps make this game feel more alive. I also like how you ride together to get to each destination in Van's car. Getting into the narrative of Trails for Daybreak, and I'm only going to be keeping this brief since if you've kept up with the lore up until this point, there is way too much to fit into a simple YouTube video. The plot structure of this game really reminded me of the Ace Attorney series. Each game has a similar 5 or in this case 6 chapter build up, focusing on a different angle of the main mystery where you'll visit a new location and typically someone will die. Each chapter will have you have a new party member who will join Arkwright Solutions, typically against Van's will, and you'll be ranked at the end of each chapter. This game is a lot more violent on screen compared to most entries before it. I think more characters die here than in previous games combined, but if you don't count reincarnation shenanigans. Going through each chapter, it was really cool seeing certain characters we haven't seen since Trails in the Sky. Like man, look at the glow punch in. Speaking of, I really enjoyed the returning characters in Daybreak. All of them felt like they had a reason for being in Calvard instead of it being done for cheap fan service, which I respect. Chapter 1 introduces Farah. Her design reminds me a lot of Rudy from Wild Arms, a side addition to Arkwright Solutions, and her inclusion evolves a lot more on the Jaegers, which have been mentioned throughout the series. Her personality was a neat addition and she felt right at home with the rest of the cast. Chapter 2 takes you to Langport. This is what I was looking forward to in Daybreak, more Hayway. Their alliance was always shady during the Crossbow Duology, and it's here we get to see their base of operations as well as their hold on Calvard streets. I also enjoyed seeing new members of Hayway, which really fleshed out their morally grey way of doing things. Here's where I'm going to get a little negative. You introduced to Aaron, your next party member in Chapter 2, and whilst I think his initial arc was well done, avenging the people who meant the world to him, it felt like his character after joining Arkwright Solutions was mainly just making snarky remarks at all the other characters. The whole anime logic of Van being old for being 24 I got tired of real fast, and it felt like every other line Aaron was pointing out Van's age despite its relevancy. Their back and forth could be fun to watch, but most times it felt either one-sided or he was just making fun of someone. I'm going to be considering Chapter 3 on with spoilers, so here's your warning. Chapter 3 takes Arkwright Solutions to Farbad during a film festival. It's here we meet Rosette Twinings, whose design reminds me a lot of Cosmos from Xenosaga. Her introduction is a bit of a mystery to the party, but nevertheless she becomes a part of Arkwright Solutions. Her arc has a good amount of longevity and relevance throughout the rest of the game as well. I've deliberately held off mentioning the main villains of Trails for Daybreak until the spoiler section. Let's talk about Armada, the new villains. I initially found them alright. They're very similar to Ouroboros, except they are way more violent and want the spotlight. Most of what they do throughout the story is try to replicate what Ouroboros did in previous games during Chapter 3 and 6 in particular. They usually have the Genesis pieces the party is after. The way they connected the DG cult, the Gardens, and Ouroboros was very interesting. My biggest complaint about a lot of the villains in this series is that we never know what their true motive really is. Sure, we know their goals, taking over Zamoria, but sometimes they feel like a roadblock just for the sake of it. Getting to Chapter 4, we're introduced to Basil, an educational institute for technology and the scientists behind Calvert. Our next party member is introduced here, Katri. I really enjoyed her and Van's relationship, and it was really interesting connecting the dots about them later on in the story. But it was around this point that my biggest gripe with Trust through Daybreak's narrative started to form. Unlike the first two Sky games where party members came and went depending on where you were in the story and in the borough, here they join Arkwright Solutions and they're here until the very end of the game. As a result for this, it can make reasons for having characters on screen sometimes feel forced. I kind of felt that way with Aaron and Katri. They had really good arcs, but when it was over, it kind of felt like they was just following Van around afterwards. Thankfully not all party members have this issue. Onyes, Rosette and Bagard don't have this problem, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. After that chapter we are given an interlude where we're taken to the mountains. I really enjoyed the pacing here, things slow down, and similar to the Michelin trip in Azure or the school festival in Cold Steel 1, you're given time to chill with just your party members. Judith Lanster is our next member to join with Arkwright Solutions, and she's a big film actress in the Calvardian film scene who we've seen previously throughout the game. I really thought she had a connection to Blue Blonde being a Phantom Thief, and maybe that's something that is mentioned in the sequel. But overall, she's a fun addition to Arkwright Solutions, albeit a little strange with her inclusion. Chapter 5 was my favourite in the game. You're invited to Anchorville by Armata, and you have a Danganronpa-esque premise where you're locked in this game, and almost every major group you've met so far in a killing game. The city is under threat to be blown up unless you enter the tournament and defeat Armata at the end. Van's backstory also gets some attention in this chapter. I also liked how it was Ouroboros who hired you to fulfill this request. It's also here where your alignment is brought into play. Throughout the game, you've been given multiple choices on how to react to certain events. Depending on how you would react, you would be given points that would go into different alignments, Law, Grey or Chaos. In my playthrough, I wanted to align with Grey since it sounded like the coolest of the three. It's here where you're given a group that matches your alignment. I got Grey, which made me side with Hayway, which I enjoyed, not sure what it is, but that was really grown on me since Crossbell. This game made him a lot more likeable in general, and Risha is playable once again with new moves, which is a pleasant surprise. If you align with other groups during this section, you would have had different party members as well as different interactions between the characters, which is really neat and adds a good level of replay value to this chapter. Overall, this chapter is amazing and one of my favourites in the entire series. The side quests and battlings felt smooth, and my motivation to play was at an all-time high because of this. Oh yeah, Bagard was also added in this chapter, and it's the final party member to join Arkwright Solutions. Man's a beast and was also Van's mentor. He also founded the Growls Brothers, so his importance was noticeable right away. A neat addition, and he rounds up the group nicely. The finale takes place in Edith. My biggest issue here personally is some of the pacing. I liked seeing everyone from around Calvert in Edith for the first time, but it felt a bit weird since we only just saw him in the last chapter. Maybe it's the fact that I binged these games, but it felt like the combat to story sections were a little off in the ratio department. During the festival, you speak to everyone on top of more side quests, the interactions are fun, and seeing characters you wouldn't otherwise see interact with is nice. But similar to the final chapter in Trails to Azure, it felt like two chapters put into one. But anyway, you confront Armata after they revive their dead party members, and also conveniently break out of prison off screen for one final showdown. It's then revealed that Van and Katrias was a victim of the DG cultist, and Van in particular has a devil within himself that he seals away from the rest of the world. After defeating Armata again, Van attempts to seal himself up in a different dimension to prevent the threat. However, the rest of Arkwright Solution quickly tracks him down. You then fight off against this devil that was sealed inside of Van the whole time and bring him back in a final boss fight. Arkwright Solutions restores peace to Edith for the moment. Roll credits. And that was Trails for Daybreak. Overall, an incredible experience. The combat system for the game is the best the series has ever had. On a technical level, the game is a huge step up from Reverie. I can't speak for the Switch's performance, but playing it on a PS5 I noticed no major frame rate drops during gameplay. All the major quality of life features from previous games are back, including the fast forward system so you can skip through animations during battles. Overall, I would rate my time with Trails for Daybreak very highly. Sure, I mentioned some dips here and there, but overall the game is quality. I love the character designs in particular. Just some small hindrances here and there. I also really hate the idea of reviving a dead character, but that's a trope I just hate in JRPGs in general. But that begs the question, is Trails for Daybreak the best Trails game? Where would I rank it overall with the series? Well, I'd put it higher than Cold Steel 3, but lower than second chapter. Also, I'm gonna hold off on showing my overall rankings of best Trails game for a possible list, so look forward to that in the future hopefully. If you're on the fence about playing this game, I would definitely recommend it if you love JRPGs, but probably say to catch up with the series beforehand. In particular, since seeing a lot of these characters grow and change over time is a huge part of this game's charm and really adds to the experience.
I know all too well that I've got a group of hardasses here who'd rather go through hell than leave me be. So I'll think long and hard on it next time. No lie. I swear.
Sounds awful.
Thanks for watching to the end of this video. Another attempt at a different video from me. If you really enjoyed Daybreak or the Trails series in general, or have a favourite character, please let me know in the comments. Also, any feedback would be really appreciated. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.